With us, Keith Neumeyer of First Majestic Silver. Welcome, sir.
Well, no, thanks very much. I appreciate the opportunity. Good seeing you in person.
I begin with a movie reference. I don't know if you know. Do you know Braveheart?
The movie? Oh, Braveheart.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
So a little bit critique question. Are you the Robert De Bruce of the silver market? In a retrospective, we began the year with Wallstreetbets pushing the price up to $30 and First Majestic up to over 20. Do you regret not jumping on a bandwagon, pushing the wagon over the line, over the 30 barrier, or was it a lost cause?
Well, there's nothing we could do about it. We're a small producer in the whole scheme of things. And, I was being interviewed quite a lot at the time. And then it was, obviously very nice to see. But you had, the financial community, coming out against the Reddit crowd at the time. I'm not sure if you remember that.
Sure.
But, there was people being interviewed on major U.S. news channels, CNBC and so on, saying, oh, these Reddit traders should be not allowed to even buy stock, because they're unsophisticated investors and they don't know what they're doing. And these are big hedge funds and regulators coming out against the Reddit crowd at the time.
Yeah. Coming back to that later, to that topic, let's begin with Jerritt Canyon, with First Majestic itself.
Sure.
I will not go with the obvious question why you have done it or so, but Jerritt, you're no longer the purest silver producer around.
I think we still are.
You still are?
Yeah, I believe so. If you look at the corporate presentation, we're 60% silver. Still puts us up there. I don't know. Yeah, it's the smaller companies. There are a group of small companies that are 2 million ounce producers that are purer than us for sure. But of the majors, the Pan Americans, the Heclas, the Coeur d'Alenes, we're still the purest.
Yeah, but I hope you will double the production in a few years in Jerritt Canyon. It will be a different.
Well, if we double gold production at Jerritt Canyon, our purity will drop even a little bit further. We're looking to increase our silver purity, so we're scouring the planet right now for that right silver project, to acquire.
What I found interesting about Jerritt Canyon is you changed the higher management in the first few weeks.
We did.
And then had record numbers in productions since a decade, as I remember. And is it a testament for having the right people in a project?
For sure. I think that, the previous owners, if you go back, almost 20 years, the three previous owners, none of them invested the capital required. And I think that the workforce there, they weren't particularly the most sophisticated, mining workforce. I think they were just doing their job and not really thinking about how to do, things better. And of course, we're a mining company. We went in there, with a completely different attitude, and we laid off the top 18 management people within the mine, in one, basically over a 2-week period. And so, and we put in our own team of professional people, and we hired some additional people from the local area that were from some of the other mining companies who were successful in poaching some very good talent, just due to our reputation and due to our size. And today we've got an extremely good management team that is very motivated and dedicated. And the goal there is to get the production up to 200,000 ounces of gold by 2024.
So you have better people than Eric Sprott, the previous owner.
Much better. Oh yes, much better.
Knowing you are investing highly in technology, like the HIG mills in Mexico. Is there something in the pipeline for Jerritt Canyon? Have you some great ideas? I read something like connecting the underground to get some more productivity. Is there something more in the pipeline?
Yeah, the mill, quite refreshing, was in really good shape. It's old, but it's, it was well kept, well maintained, no real issues. But there are better technologies available today than there was a decade ago or 2 decades ago. So we're actually upgrading the mill right now. There's, I think in our 2022 budget, we have approximately $10 million of investment going into the mill. we're thinking, environmentally it's going to be a better mill. From a recovery perspective, we hope it's going to be better than it is today. But just overall, we think it'd just be a cleaner, better operation, hopefully lower cost as well. The mine itself is a different thing, and that's where the previous owners really didn't make any investment at all. There's really been virtually zero investment in development and exploration over the last decade. And that's what we're doing, and we've got the capital to do it. And you mentioned the previous owner, and they didn't want to spend the money. They did a lot of really good things, don't get me wrong, but they didn't spend the expansionary money that we're currently spending now, and will continue to spend over the next couple of years.
So things will be great in Nevada.
We think so, and we're hoping maybe it's not the only asset we have in Nevada too. There's other assets we're looking at, and maybe Jerritt Canyon will prove to be the first investment. We don't know. It's a little bit too early to say.
I imagine most of the shareholders were glad that you expanded beyond Mexico. Going back to Mexico, you are pretty relaxed with the whole government thing, so it might take 3, 4, 5 years longer, I guess.
Well, we've been in Mexico for 19 years, and I can tell you, Mexico's not the same as it was 19 years ago. It's much more difficult. But it's just not Mexico, the world, it's mining, energy, all the extractive industries on the planet are under pressure by governments, to get better. And the mining sector is getting better, and because technology is available, and, the mining sector is getting cleaner and more efficient. And, it's a different industry as it was 20 years ago. And I'm sure, 10 years ago, the mining sector will be a different industry. But, we move and we adopt different technologies, different techniques, and we'll just always continually do that.
Yeah, you also invest heavily in being more ESG.
Well, I think it's important. We have a lot of responsibilities in the communities that we're active in. If you look at the communities that surround our mines in Mexico, if it wasn't for us, those communities would not exist. Those schools rely on us, the infrastructure. If there's a pipe that breaks underneath a road in the middle of town, the mayor is not going to call the state government. The state government's not going to show up. So the mayor calls us. So, we're the ones that bring our equipment in, our people in, and sometimes engineers if serious work needs to be done. And these towns rely on us to come in and fix their problems. And it's our responsibility. We don't mind doing it, but we put electrical infrastructure, energy infrastructure, internet, of course. We do everything. Without us in these communities just simply would not exist.
Now, most of the people outside, they concentrate at the ESG on the E, but the other S and G are also important. And you're doing a great work there in Mexico in these communities. You should be, you're vocal about it, but other people should also look at it, not only at the environment. But environmentally, you change from diesel to liquid gas.
The last mine, yes. Yeah, so we converted the La Encantada mine. We had 2 mines on diesel, and diesel is expensive, and then it's also quite a dirty fuel to burn, but it's very readily available, easy to get. Natural gas is more challenging to get because in Mexico they don't have pipelines, so we have to truck it in. And it comes from the United States as well. So it makes it a little bit more challenging. But nevertheless, we converted La Encantada over to LNG, and it worked out quite well for us. So we decided to convert Santa Elena over to LNG as well, which was accomplished in April of this year. So and now it's running on virtually 100% LNG, which is quite good.
You have this one project, Ermitano, and is it beyond your company? Is it getting harder for juniors when a company like yours has something in the pipeline like Ermitano where they can expand? Is it harder for other juniors to be bought off, and they have to think more in getting in production themselves? Do you think it's a changing environment?
No, I don't think so. I think development is good. I think when a bigger company like First Majestic is developing an asset like Ermitano in this region, I think that it helps the smaller companies because we bring talent, we bring infrastructure. You know, and that's all necessary stuff for, you know, the smaller companies to survive. You know, talking about Ermitano, you know, this is a very exciting project for that company, for that mine. You know, Santa Elena, you know, it produced somewhere around, call it 5 million ounces of silver equivalent in 2021. Next year, it'll probably be closer to 8 million. The year after that, it'll probably be closer to 10, you know, as a result of Ermitano.
Yeah, I read somewhere that it might be that Ermitano is getting together with the existing mine, and you're getting a bigger mine. Is it right? Because it's close by. Very close. It's 4 kilometers from the mill. The life of mine of Ermitano, I think, is around 7 years in that range. So, you know, it's going to be feed for that mill for a long, long time. And we think Ermitano is going to get bigger as well. There's still drilling going on. And we're putting out a 43-101 resource estimate in a couple of weeks. So I suggest people have a look at that. But it's going to be the first time we've actually incorporated Ermitano into the Santa Elena report. Your trading background, you did, again, something that I applaud you to, is you withheld production because the spot price was not high enough. You're still the only one out there who's doing it, right? Seems to be. You know, it's not a popular thing for sure. You know, I remember when Rob McEwen, when he was running Gold Corp years ago, held back gold, and he was applauded for doing that. And I know another silver company did hold back some silver, I think in Q1 or Q2, a small amount of silver. We've done it a few times, but the silver price dropped so much over the last, you know, 6 months. I just, you know, I didn't like the price in Q3. We could have held back more, but you know, holding back 1.5 million ounces or 1.4 million ounces of silver is a lot of money. You know, it's you know, about $35 million of revenue that we're not getting. And, you know, we do have a big business. You know, we have 6,000 people and, you know, a lot of costs associated with that. So, you know, we have to be careful because, you know, we don't want to be burning away our treasury to any great degree. So we did take a small loss in Q3 as a result of holding back those ounces. But we've been selling some of them recently, which is great. You know, so we're making an extra $2 or $3 an ounce, you know, for those silver. I would love to hold on longer, but you know, we got a year end coming up, and you know, it's you know, the institutions that own First Majestic, you know, want to see that revenue hit the bottom line, and so there's a limit to what we can do. Do you think more shareholders of our companies could call up the CEOs of the regarding company and say, hey, do it like Keith does it? I wish they would. I wish the investors would put more pressure on the other executives, because you know, if more of these silver companies would hold back their ounces, you know, we could, you know, really try to squeeze this market a little bit, because you know, the paper market trades 1 billion ounces a day. The miners produce 800 million ounces in 1 year. So that's pretty ridiculous leverage. And the paper markets shouldn't be pricing the metal. And I've said it many, many times. You know, the miners should price the metal based on supply demand. The miners should not be forced to price their metal based on fictitious paper trading price. For the retail investor outside, can you put it in terms like a 5-year-old would understand it? Paper manipulation. I mean, most of the people out there who hear paper manipulation, they think, oh, some conspiracy theorists or something like that. Well, look at all the fines. You know, how many banks have been fined? You know, HSBC, you know, JP Morgan. There's a list of banks that have paid fines for manipulating markets, not just the silver market or the gold market, but the currency markets. And you know, a LIBOR market is a famous one. You know, these traders, and I used to be a trader. You know, back in the 80s, I spent 6 years trading for the banks in Canada. And, you know, it's not, you know, you get greedy. You know, if a trader is sitting behind the desk and then he sees a way to make money, he's going to do it. And, you know, he hopes that no one sees him doing it. He might know he's doing something a little bit untoward or maybe even illegal, but it happens all the time. And the bank might not even know it's happening, right? Unless, you know, unless it gets to be a big, big problem. But eventually, you know, it comes out, and
the bank pays the fine. And, you know, people say there's no manipulation going on. They're not paying attention because it happens on a regular basis.
Can a existing price mechanism for silver be changed with the existing bullion banks and Comex?
Yeah, it's a good question. The miners would really have to step up and say, we don't want to use this system anymore. You know, you look at uranium, for example, you know, how it trades. You know, it trades, you know, based on contracts, you know, diamonds, even oil to some degree. Gold and silver are really unique commodities that trade solely on paper, where there's very little physical commodity that actually trades. You know, of the paper volume that trades in gold and silver, it's probably only 1 or 2% of that ever gets converted into actually physical metal.
So you're telling we need a second price mechanism, an alternative? Or
just not a second, just an alternative. We need to eliminate the paper market.
So why don't you call up your buddies, like 10 other miners, and create something like a OPEC for silver?
Yeah, well, that's what I would love to do. I've said it many times, and then when I have the opportunity to speak to executives in the industry, they know my view. And you know, if you look at most silver is produced by the base metal producers. So the big copper miners, the big zinc miners, that's where most of the silver comes from, 70%. Only 30% of the silver that's mined globally comes from the pure silver guys like ourselves. So, you know, it's...
But you might get 10% of the production together.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. You can help me.
I would love to. So, but it's something important that it could be changed. Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
So because it's an opaque market, we have spoken in the last interview about it. Samsung does not know how much silver is left on the shelf. So getting it back to the Corona thing that we experienced, I don't know if it was the same in the US with toilet paper on the shelves being bought up in panic. So if Samsung goes to the Comex and sees 3 ounces left on the shelf, I might buy more, but there is no panic.
Well, they don't pay attention. You know, I don't think the big consumers actually know. You know, and the big consumers would be Apple, you know, the big automotive manufacturers, BMW, you know, Mercedes, you know, you name it. You know, these are, you know, Sony, Samsung, of course. You know, these are massive consumers of silver, and if they would actually open their eyes and see how tight the market was, I think they would just go and buy the entire silver sector. You know, the amount of capital they have, you could buy the entire silver sector for probably less than $30 billion.
Yeah, Apple could have done it many times.
Sure,
all over.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, and maybe one day it'll happen. Maybe someone will wake up. Maybe on the headlines, one day we'll see that Apple can't produce their iPads anymore, and they're going to panic.
How near are we at this event?
Well, we've been in a deficit now for multiple years. You know, we were. You know, in 2020, we produced 800 million ounces worldwide. In 2019, we produced 830 million ounces worldwide. In 2021, we don't know what the number is yet, but call it 800 million ounces again, just for the sake of argument. We're consuming 1 billion ounces a year. So you get a $200 million ounce deficit. You know, some of that's made up with recycling for sure, but at these prices, no one's recycling. And it's also very expensive to recycle. So the deficit continues. The above ground supplies continually dwindle, and we're at, you know, record lows in above ground supplies. You know, I even question where sometimes the metal is coming from, just to fill the gap. But it's getting very close.
Your presentations also include many things like auto parts. It's looking like a Tesla presentation in some parts. Do you think that the changed environment that we have, the governments are pushing this green revolution, we expect more silver consumption in the coming years, don't we?
Well, you know, in my presentation tomorrow, talking about the green revolution, I've got some interesting slides in my presentation, and you know, there's a couple there. One on the auto sector, for example. The auto sector consumed about 80 million ounces of silver, in the electrical auto sector. in 2020, and that was a down year because of COVID. So 2021 is obviously going to be higher than that number, whatever it is. Call it 90 million ounces or 100 million ounces. So in a market where there's only 800 million ounces being produced, that's over 10% of the world's supply going to one industry, which is quite new. Electric cars are new, and it's a growing industry. With governments pushing electric cars on us, on the population, some cities are saying by 2030 they don't want a fuel combustion car on their streets. Only electric cars will be allowed on the streets. So how many electric cars have to be produced to accomplish that? In 2019, there was 5 million electric cars produced worldwide, and there's 90 million automobiles produced worldwide, of which 5 million were electric. That 5 million electric cars consumed 80 million ounces of silver. So if you're going to produce 10 million cars, that's 160 million ounces of silver. You do the math. It gets pretty crazy. In a market where there's only 800 million ounces being produced a year, where's all this silver going to come from? Then you've got solar panels. 100 million ounces of silver were consumed in solar panels last year. Another growing industry. And every year that's going to keep going up. With governments pushing solar energy worldwide, that number's only going to go up. So you've got two industries right now, electric cars and solar panels, which are consuming over 20% of the world's supply of silver, and those numbers are going higher.
Because of this green revolution, we have also an excitement for copper as a metal. But you are saying that, making a comparison, that silver is the glue that's holding everything together, a strategic metal. So not only look at copper, but silver, it still be important in the coming years.
Copper is my second favorite metal. As you probably know, I came from a copper company. I look at copper as the road and silver as the glue. I've said that a number of times. I'm glad you picked that up in one of my previous interviews. And it's only going to get more so.
Your background in trading, coming back to that.
Yeah.
If you see price, do you also see manipulation there when there is a cliff that is going down middle in the night? Somebody is trying to sell paper gold or paper silver.
It's just logical sense, right? And this is, people that say these things are normal ways things trade. It's full of nonsense because if you're an institutional investor or a large holder of anything, whether it's oil, gold, silver, a stock, if you're are you going to pick a very illiquid time to sell whatever you want to sell? You're going to wait for the most liquid time to try to get the best price possible because you're trying to, reduce your losses or increase your profits, right? You're not going to pick, Thanksgiving, when all the markets are closed except Singapore is open, and that's the most illiquid time. And if you go back and to 2011, in May, I think the date was May 7th, if I recall correctly, in 2011, when silver hit 49.80. I remember because it was a Sunday night, and I'm sitting on my computer watching silver trade. It's going up and up and up every day, and I'm selling silver for First Majestic, our production. I'm selling our production, and so I put an order in at 49, sold it. Put an order in at 49.50, sold it. Put an order in at $50 and went to bed, and I wasn't worried at all. Okay, so I woke up in the morning and silver was down $6. It was trading at $44 or something like that at the time. I was down $6. How's that possible? That Monday, all the U.S. markets were closed. Right? Yeah. So there was no buyers in sight. So they picked that precise day to knock it down on purpose.
That's to a conspiracy theorist. Yeah.
Well, I don't think it's conspiracy. I think it's reality. Because it's like you're managing your book. So you can say, is that illegal? You can debate that. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a judge. But if you own a big position in a company, and that stock is down very badly one day, for you to go in and try to support the stock, that would be called managing your book. Would that be called manipulation? I don't think so. Right? It's just you've got an investment and you're protecting your investment. And if you're short, 10 million ounces of silver, and then silver keeps going up and up and up. And if you have the time, if you have the opportunity to try to knock it down, as a short seller, you might try to do that.
The business of short selling is getting a little bit harder with First Majestic, with your dividend.
Yeah.
You've seen there a difference in shorting?
The short positions drop substantially. Yes. Which is nice to see.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah. And we talked last time about Tesla and the crazy market right now. And Tesla is still getting more crazier. You're still with your assessment that it's all over the 2000s?
All over the 2000s?
Yes, it's a repeat of the 2000s.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, I know. I'm still a big believer that we're in a high-tech bubble, in my opinion, and very similar to what happened in 2000. You know, when the Nasdaq hit 5,000 in March of 2000, and it was down 80% over the next 3 years, and that was really the beginning of the resource market. You know, silver was trading at $5, you know, back then, and gold was trading at $250. You know, over the next 10 years. You know, gold went up to 1,800 and silver went up to $50. You know, who knows what the top is going to be this time? But I think that the bottom is in both gold and silver, and it's just a matter of time when they start moving again. And I think you need, you know, the major markets to crack to get some of that money flowing into, you know, real assets. You know, because these are, you know, this money is flowing into business plans, fake companies. Losing companies, you know, story stocks, and that's the name right now. And so a lot of people are making money, you know, doing those kinds of trades. And you know, as long as people continually make money doing those types of trades, they're going to keep doing it. When they stop making money and they start losing money, then that money is going to find another home. And I think that home's going to be the resource sector.
Back then we had inflation. Right now, back then we had no inflation. Right now we have inflation and the money printing. Can the market go down?
I think that's going to even make the market go higher. I'm talking about the resource market. That's going to,
yeah, sure.
Yeah, the overall major markets. I think, yeah, that's going to be the death of the big markets. But I still think, you know, there's so much money, so much liquidity. All these institutions, all these investors around the world have to have a home for their money. So they're going to exit the big names, you know, the Teslas and, you know, and so on, the Apples, and they're going to find a place to invest. And I think, and my bet is on, and my money's in, you know, behind my belief that that money is going to flow into the resource sector. And that's why I think you need to own copper, you need to own silver, you need to own gold, uranium, oil. You know, I wouldn't be surprised to see $200 oil.
But this would be also very costly for you as a producer.
Yeah, well, fortunately, we're using natural gas, right? But yeah, you know, but if you have what happened in 2011, you know, for example, the metal prices went up faster than the energy price. So hopefully, if we do see $200 oil, we'll also see triple-digit silver.
And right now, we are speaking at the Deutsche GOLDMESSE. So exciting companies outside. What are you looking into? What are no specific names, but what are you looking for in a company to get your interest?
Well, for me personally, or for First Majestic?
For you personally.
Personally, I look at management. That's the first thing I look at always. You know, has the management team made money for investors before? You know, because there's a lot of management teams out there, a lot of new companies out there that don't have experience. They don't understand the public markets. They don't know how to raise money. They don't know how to, you know, build businesses. So you have to be careful. It's a very risky market. You know, buying these junior resource stocks is not easy. Most of them don't do very well. So it always comes down to management teams first. And you know, beyond that, then look at, you know, what country they're active in. You know, you don't probably want to invest in places like Venezuela or places like China or places like Russia. You probably want to focus on, you know, mining companies that have assets in Canada or United States or Australia. You know, parts of the world that are known safe mining jurisdictions. So you know, you knock those two things off the table and you check those boxes, and usually, you know, you could then make a decision.
No, thank you very much. Are you ready right now to announce the silver OPEC, or are we waiting for it?
The silver which?
OPEC, silver OPEC.
OPEC. What is that?
OPEC is oil producing.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't catch what you were meaning. Yeah, I would love to do it, but it's not going to take just First Majestic. We need the entire silver sector to come to the table and change the way pricing is done.
Yeah, if someone can do it, it's going to be you. I mean,
well, we'll definitely be part of it.
Yeah, I mean, you're the CEO of First Majestic, but you could also be Mr. Silver or the chief lobbyist for silver as the strategic metal.
Yeah.
And you also coined the term
triple-digit silver.
Yeah. So.
And there's no substitute for silver as well.
Yeah. So you're out there. Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thanks for your time.